We gotta watch this. Where is it? The craziest prison
July
escape of all
1st,
time.
2018, 9:20 a.m.
W.
A
Fern.
high-security prison south of Paris, one of the largest, most modern, and most secure detention centers in France. Hundreds of guards, massive 17-foot walls lined with barbed wire
17?
and armored doors. The courtyards are covered with anti-helicopter netting. On all 4 watchtowers, snipers with assault rifles stand at the ready. In solitary confinement cell 207, inmate number 00-10189 waits to be escorted to a visiting room. He is the most heavily guarded prisoner in the country. He was involved in at least 30 robberies, some including hostages, one involving a cash and transit heist that led to the death of a police officer.
No way he
Twice,
escapes this
he slipped
shit.
away from the police right at the scene of the crime. And 5 years ago, in 2013, he pulled off a spectacular escape from another high-security prison, using a smuggled gun and explosives to blast his way out. 2 guards unlock his cell to pat him down. They do find something suspicious, but it's just a pack of gum. The guards like him, despite his staggering record of high-stakes crimes. He's easygoing, funny, and likable.
What is he gonna do with a pack of
It's
gum?
almost like he's perfectly comfortable here, behind bars. 20 miles away, 65-year-old flight instructor Stefan Bay welcomes 2 new students, Frédéric and Julien, father and son. They're both hyped for their flight. They say they just want to tag along and watch him fly, not pilot themselves, but they do request it to be on board the Alouette 2, a vintage collector's model from the
Why?
1950s. The pair have been marveling at it because it just looks
Why the fuck would you fly a plane from the 1950s, dude? Bro, are you serious?
so pretty. Something feels sketchy. Stefan will later recall that he thought they were wearing wigs. But hey, money is money, right? They pay 500 euros in cash up front. Back in jail, the prisoner is escorted to the visitors block for high-risk inmates. It's situated as far away from the prison entrance as possible. Prison management has been on edge for a while, noticing a change in the inmate's behavior. He's received more visits and seemed to be sending coded messages during phone calls. His casual vibe
He's
with the
planning
guards
his
could be a
escape.
tactic to extract useful intel. A couple of days ago, a drone was spotted scouting the facility from above. Stefan is waiting for his students on an open field. He has landed on the clearing because they
Wait, no way the students pick him. Hold on.
said they needed to stop to pee. They stepped out and disappeared behind some trees. When they
shot
return, they're
Oh my
armed.
god!
They claim to know his family and his home address. They say they have been watching him
They
for
didn't
months,
shoot him though, because they don't
and
know
that
how to
their
fly.
accomplices are waiting at his house as they speak. If he doesn't do exactly as they say, his family dies. They'll tell him where to fly next.
What?
On the visitor side of booth number 50, the inmate's older brother is waiting to see his sibling. He has no idea that his little brother is about to pull off the most spectacular prison break in French history.
I never heard about this. Oh my god. (2D animation. Yo, W animators, by the way. I don't know how people do this. They're crazy. What up, Nathan?
The prisoner calmly waiting for his helicopter ride is Redouane Faïd. He's the country's most infamous criminal. He's also a best-selling author, a movie buff and adrenaline junkie, and to many in France's immigrant suburbs, he's also a legend. But to understand all this, we need to go back to the beginning.
Chapter 1. Ride 09
1978, a suburb near Paris. This is 6-year-old Redouane. He's still in kindergarten, browsing through a newly opened store with his brother, who's 2 years older than him. There's not a single thing in this shop the two could afford. Their parents are Algerian immigrants. The father works in a factory, the mother cleans houses. At home, the boys shared a cramped 3-room apartment with 9 other siblings.
9?
The social
I was gonna
housing
say, why is
block
there
is
so many
surrounded by
police?
wealthy suburbs, full of wealthy French kids. Redouane and his brother do not fit the mold, and the store detective makes sure they know it. He calls them Petite Merguez, a racial slur for Algerian immigrants. But
Whoa!
other than
Bro,
that,
why would you
he
say
doesn't really
it?
pay attention to them. Out in the parking lot, the brothers divide up their haul. It's Redouane's first theft ever.
Oh, he robbed?
A couple of weeks
Stole
later,
it.
he gets caught. His parents
By
are
his
furious. and his father whips him 20 times with a belt. His mother makes him promise he will never steal again.
20
Around this
what's
time,
20
Redouane
times?
discovers the world of film, especially French crime thrillers and American gangster movies. He watches them on repeat, memorizes entire scenes, and acts them out at home for his family. By his teens, stealing isn't just survival anymore, it's a way of life. He and his friends swipe TVs, stereos, VCRs, car radios, and computers. They use the money to buy Adidas sneakers and flashy tracksuits. But more than anything, they go to the movies. Again and again.
Okay.
Then, at 18 years old, Redouane commits his first bank robbery. He walks in armed, holds the bank employee at gunpoint, and threatens her with a line
What
straight
the
from the French
fuck?
crime film, Marine. Shut up. Do what I tell you. I've got nothing against you. I only want the money. Think of your children. After the
Oh,
robbery, he
hell
simply
no.
goes back to school and studies for his high school exams. There's
He
no
didn't
one
get
to
caught?
scold him anymore at home. His father has moved back to Algeria, and his mother is dying of leukemia.
Oh.
He'll later write in his autobiography that, from that moment on, he stopped caring. Redouane Faïd's crimes are getting bigger, and they seem to be directly inspired by American action films. During a heist, he and his crew end up taking a bank director and his family hostage. They are wearing rubber masks with the faces of famous politicians, just like Patrick Swayze in Point Break. Redouane even delivers a line from the movie when they leave the scene.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please don't forget to vote!
In another hostage situation 2 years later, Faïd and
I've
his
never
men
heard
show
of
up in
this. Is there
sharp
like a
black
movie about
suits
this?
in homage to Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. They even adopt the thing with the color-coded aliases.
Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange.
So they got all this from a movie?
But this time the job goes sideways and they have to flee from the cops, just like in the movie.
Oh.
However, all these spectacular crimes still don't seem enough for Faïd. One of his all-time favorite gangster films is Michael Mann's Heat, and after watching it over and over again, he sets himself a new goal. The holy grail of robbery: armored trucks.
Oh. Wait, how much does an armored truck
An
carry
industrial
at a
area
time?
on the outskirts of Paris. Faïd is behind the wheel of a Renault.
This was
He spots his target,
1997.
a 6-ton armored truck with 3 armed guards inside, and slams his car straight into it. Within seconds, 2 more cars appear, blocking the truck from the front and back.
Oh my god.
5 men in hockey masks jump out, AK-47s in hand, just like in the movie Heat. They surround the truck,
Bro, they
moving
watch
fast.
too much movies,
One
bro.
of them slaps an explosive-looking package onto the windshield.
C4!
The guards step out and surrender. Faïd and his crew start emptying the truck, but there's a problem. It's simply too much cash. Moving the money out takes way too long. After just 3 minutes, police are on the scene. Gunfire erupts.
Why would it?
Faïd takes a bullet to the shoulder.
Why did you?
He does
just
manage
take a
to
little
escape
bit?
with his crew, but he has lost blood on the crime scene.
They got his blood.
Now the police
GG.
have his DNA and start to investigate his identity. And if they
GG.
catch him, he's looking at 15 years behind bars.
Oh, GG, they got his blood. Oh shit.
Stefan Bai and his 2 captors
Wait,
land
this
for a
was in
second time.
2018.
The hijackers have 2 more men waiting on the ground.
Back to the
They
start.
haul large black duffel bags into the helicopter. One of them climbs in, all dressed in black, hood pulled over his head. Stefan is held at gunpoint the entire time. Now he is ordered to take off again. He flips the ignition switches and presses the starter, but nothing happens. The kidnappers think he's trying to outsmart them and start freaking out. They beat and threaten him. If he doesn't do as they say, his family dies.
What if it's actually not working?
Stefan manages to convince them that he really needs to step out to check the wiring. Finally, the engine roars back to life. They take off again. The hijackers are well prepared. The duffel bags are packed with tear gas, smoke grenades, masks, AK-47s, and an angle grinder. And so the heli thunders towards the high-security prison, where Redouane Faïd is sitting calmly in visiting room 50, chatting away with his older brother. Hands down, this really is the kind of stuff you'd expect in a Hollywood blockbuster.
Oh
But say
God,
you're in
is
the
there a
US
movie
and
about
can't
this
stream this
shit?
French crime thriller due to geo-restrictions. Enter CyberGhost VPN. With
I'm
servers
literally
in more than 100
Hey!
countries,
I'm
CyberGhost
literally in the
Amazon
US
CyberGhost
watching,
and
dog.
personal data pilot cents per month. It's all /fern. Back to Redouane Faïd in prison. How did he land there in the first place?
Catch.
20 years earlier, the
Faïd,
Movenpick
if you
Hotel
can.
in Basel. An employee enters a room to prepare it for the next guest. She has no idea she is not alone. Redouane Faïd has been hiding there for over 3 hours. Outside, the police are searching for him across the entire city. A few hours earlier, Faid was arrested on a train
This is
heading
why
from
he got
Germany
arrested,
to France.
I think.
German federal police took
What'd
him
he
into
do?
custody. He had been hiding abroad for months. But when the officers escort him off the train, he manages to break free. He runs straight across the
Oh.
tracks to shake the cops. A train roars in and blocks the officers from following. He jumps several meters down and twists his ankle, so now he's limping. Somehow he makes it to the back entrance of the Move and Pick Hotel and sneaks inside.
No
He finds
fucking
several
way.
open doors, since
Bro,
the
this
cleaning
is
staff are
actually
still
some
working.
shit out of a movie.
He needs to get out of here somehow. He thinks about calling a contact in Strasbourg, but he doesn't have a phone. So what now? There's a payphone right outside the hotel, but he also doesn't have any coins. He calmly approaches the receptionist to ask if she can give him some change for a bill. She places the coins in front of him, which leads to another problem. His hands are still cuffed. What if she notices and calls the police? Faid keeps it cool, acts like he's casually reading a promo poster behind the desk. The moment the receptionist turns away, he quickly scoops up the coins. The first call fails, and he disappears onto the hotel rooftop to hide
He's
for a couple
still
of hours.
handcuffed.
He tries again, turns around, and finds himself surrounded by 20 police officers.
That's how they got him. Oh shit. And that's why he's in jail right now.
The next day, Faid is at the hospital with 2 officers to have his ankle checked. He seems to be in serious pain, but that's just an act. In a fraction of a second, he drops his crutches and snatches a gun from one of the officers. He trained in Krav Maga during his time in Israel, a super efficient military combat technique designed for fast defense and brutal disarmament. Before the second officer can react, Faid drives his elbow into his face. The officer drops, and Faid takes his gun too. Then he runs, as fast as he can, for the second time in 24 hours. You would think a guy like that would be watched extra closely in jail. At 11:18 a.m., this prison guard hears a strange noise. A low hum or buzzing sound coming from outside. To her, it sounds like a leaf blower. Weird,
It's a
she thinks.
helicopter.
The gardeners are not supposed to work on Sundays. Well, it's not a leaf blower,
Wait.
but the facility
What's that
is
shit?
prepared for this. This
Okay.
sentinel receives an urgent order over the radio: unseal. The same thing happens on other watchtowers. Each one is equipped with a special case. The guard has to break the seal to open it. Inside is an HK G36 assault rifle. He grabs it and takes aim. The helicopter just keeps descending. The prison yards are covered with anti-helicopter netting.
That's
Flying
what
in
it
here
is.
would be a suicide mission. But this is not a random helicopter. It's a 60-year-old vintage model, just small enough to slip through this unsecured gap
fucking
in the
way.
last one of the prison yards. Also, this is not a regular landing. In fact, they're not touching down at all. Redouane Faid must have known somehow that prison guards are not allowed to shoot at a flying helicopter. There's a proper protocol for this. And maybe he also knew that Stéphane Baye is one of the few pilots in all of France who are skilled enough to pull this off, to keep this specific type of vintage heli steady enough while hovering above the ground. Investigators will later discover that
Bro, this is
Faid
some
had been
shit out
writing
of a
letters to
movie.
Stéphane's stepdaughter for
What the
2 entire
fuck?
years. And this friendship was not Faid's only connection to the outside world, because at this point, Redouane Faid was already a star. October 2010, 12 years after his escape in Basel, 8 years before his helicopter prison break, Redouane Faid sits in a French talk show.
Gangster, braqueur, voyou, voleur, appelez ça comme vous voulez, il revendique à peu près tous ces mots-là. Bonjour Redouane Faid.
Bonjour.
Les banques, vous en avez braqué combien en tout?
Alors,
banks?
officiellement, j'en ai braqué qu'une, puisque j'ai été condamné que pour une banque. On m'a soupçonné d'en
Cinema?
avoir braqué
Nah,
une trentaine,
this-
mais bon,
bro.
ça, c'est que des dires et des
This,
racontards.
bro, this
He's
is
a
some
welcome
shit out of
guest
a
at the
movie.
time, a bit of a sensation even. Redouane Faid has written a book about his cinematic crimes, so now he's making the rounds on French TV to promote it.
C'est terrible de dire ça, mais le cinéma a été pour moi un mode d'emploi pour braquer.
Et on voyait ça un petit peu, l'attaque de fourgon blindé en ligne de mire. Pourquoi? Parce que quand tu attaques un fourgon blindé, c'est le top des tops.
The caption on screen reads, former gangster. Well, not so long ago, he was anything but. In late 1998, 3 months after his escape in Basel, Faid was caught and sentenced to 18 years in jail for armed robbery. He was granted parole for good behavior after just under 9 years. Now he presents himself as a changed man, as someone who has learned his lesson.
La vie de bandit, c'est que de la vie de merde. Vous savez, vous faites souffrir tout
Bro, I
le
want
monde.
to see how he got, how he
Quand vous allez en
escaped.
prison, c'est une sanction carrément qui est collective parce que votre famille, votre femme, vos enfants,
And
vos
did he get
frères,
caught
vos sœurs,
again?
vos
Like, bro,
parents,
I want to
tout le
see
monde
this.
paye.
Yo, hurry up.
He got married. His brother has landed him an office job. He appears to be taking it easy now. At one point, he attends a film event where Michael Mann is physically present, the director of Heat, the very film that inspired his biggest heist.
Moi, personnellement, je suis un ancien gangster. Malheureusement, je m'en vante pas. Je viens de faire une dizaine d'années de prison. J'ai attaqué des fourgons blindés, des bijouteries, des banques, monsieur Toubiana, je pense. Et je leur ai répondu que non. J'avais un conseiller technique, un prof de fac, une sorte de mentor. Et il s'appelle Michael Mann. Alors, ma question, en fait, elle est simple. C'est est-ce qu'il a conscience qu'il y ait des gangsters qui puissent s'inspirer de son cinéma? Parce que moi, ça m'est arrivé.
Fayed addresses Mann directly. Michael Mann looks amused, but also a bit uncomfortable.
That's the guy
He
who
doesn't
wrote
know
the
what to say.
movies.
Thank you for that. I don't know how to respond.
In another talk show stint, Fayed is asked if he thinks he could ever relapse.
Ah non, bah, moi mes démons, vous savez, hein, ils sont morts, ils sont pas endormis.
That's a bold-faced lie. Because at this point, he's already back to committing crimes. And not just petty theft, but a crime so shocking it will shake the entire country.
Yeah, what did he do?
May 20th, 2010, Créteil, a suburb southeast of downtown Paris. Two officers are on routine patrol, Thierry M. and his partner Aurélie Fouquet. Fouquet is 26 years old. She became a mother just a year ago. For them, it's just another day on the job. But then they get a call from the National Police. They're told to head to the A4 highway exit. Some criminals are on the run in a white van. They pull up at an intersection with flashing lights and blaring sirens. They have no idea what they're about to get into. These men had a plan to rob an armored cash truck carrying 16 million euros. But 30 minutes ago, a
that's what
routine
they
traffic
did.
stop turned their heist into a high-speed, all-out chase with the police. Now they've crashed and need a new getaway car. But at that exact moment, the two patrol officers arrive. The gang doesn't hesitate to open fire.
Yo!
The windshield of the patrol car alone is pierced by 16 bullets. Fouquet is hit multiple times. The gunmen flee. Fouquet is rushed to the hospital. And by the end of the day, she is dead. The murder of Aurélie Fouquet sends shockwaves throughout the entire country. At her funeral, thousands of police officers stand in mourning. Among them is French President Nicolas Sarkozy. He
Bro, this is
posthumously
actually
awards her a
insane.
Medal of Honor and delivers a promise. He will do everything it takes to find out who did it.
Les meurtriers d'Aurélie Fouquet, je le dis devant son cercueil, seront punis avec la sévérité qu'exige l'ignominie de leur crime.
Redouane Faïd feels safe. So safe he keeps telling his gangster stories on camera. Here he is in a documentary. The film recounts how Fouquet was gunned down, and then Redouane Faïd appears, not as a suspect, not as a fugitive, but as an expert on this kind of heist. At the time, the filmmakers had no idea that the man sitting in front of them had a part in the killing of Aurélie Fouquet.
He was the one who did it.
The failed attack on the armored cash truck has Faïd's signature all over it, but he has an airtight alibi, and he swears he was not involved. But investigators keep digging and eventually find compelling surveillance footage. A security camera has caught Faïd inside the white van used by the criminals. Faïd was not on the scene when the shots were fired, but police gather enough evidence to pin him down as the mastermind behind the operation.
Oh shit.
After 1 year on the run, Faïd is
That's
captured
why he was in
again,
prison.
and he goes straight back to prison.
I just want to see why he's. I just want to see how he escaped.
Whether you're invited
that
to a
shit.
talk show or heading out on a date, there are moments when you want to look your best. But shaving is often a struggle. Many men experience razor burns and get nervous
Hey!
about shaving right ahead of an important event. That's why Henson set out to fix shaving with right precision. Makes it of 100 blades with the purchase of a razor.
Chapter 4, The Great Escape. Yes, this is what we came here for.
Two inmates are taking out the trash, accompanied by a prison guard. Suddenly, they see a helicopter in the courtyard next to them. They wonder if it could be firefighters. The unarmed warden bolts into a nearby office, hiding behind bulletproof glass. Meanwhile, the two prisoners are about to witness Redouane Faïd's spectacular prison escape up close. One of the three men stays with Stéphane, the pilot, and continues to press a gun to his head. The other two jump out.
Oh my
They are
God.
masked and wearing bulletproof vests beneath their clothes. Each of them carries an AK-47. They've just landed in the armored courtyard. Prisoners do not have access here. It's only used when inmates enter or leave the facility. That's why nobody thought anti-helicopter cables were needed here.
Oh.
The man in green runs towards a reinforced white door. He carries an angle grinder with a 14-inch 35cm blade. His partner sets off 3 smoke grenades, releasing thick white smoke. The helicopter's spinning blades churn it into a roaring chaos, until the entire courtyard is engulfed, a complete whiteout. The sound of the cutting angle screeches through the entire prison. Fayed knows what that means.
Oh my fucking
It's time.
God.
By now, it's clear to everyone that nobody here is blowing leaves. The blade of the grinder slices through the locking doors. Clean, precise. 40 seconds is all it takes. The man in green can just push the door open and step inside. The guards slowly realize what's happening, but they're not carrying firearms and are unable to interfere.
What?
One of them sticks to protocol and calls the Civil Aviation Authority. They don't understand what's happening.
Why would the guards not have guns?
Another calls the standard line for police emergencies and gets put on hold. A third contacts the local police, but the officer on the other end thinks it's a prank. The sentinels on the 4 watchtowers are the only ones carrying firearms, but they can't see the helicopter because their view is blocked by other buildings. And they're not allowed to fire at a flying aircraft anyway. Total, utter chaos. By now, Fayed's brother knows exactly what's going on. He's furious. He thought his brother was ready to change. And now this, another escape.
God.
He just can't help himself.
This is actually insane.
Fayed's accomplice has already cut his way through several locks. And now he has reached the door to visiting room 50, where Redouane Fayed is waiting. The angle grinder slices through the metal. The door is open. Fayed has been waiting for this. He storms out and rushes down a long corridor, followed by the man in green. His brother is left behind, frozen and stunned. At 11:28 a.m., Redouane Fayed
Bro,
steps
this
into
really
the prison
happened.
courtyard.
What the fuck?
10 minutes after the helicopter got there. He sees the 2 inmates that have taken out the trash, brings his right hand to his temple, and gives them an Air Force salute. Then he climbs into the helicopter. Dozens of inmates stand pressed against the bars of their cells to watch. As the helicopter lifts off, the entire prison erupts into applause. It's almost like a movie scene.
That's actually fucking insane. That really happened.
A French gangster who broke out of jail by hijacking a helicopter.
A notorious gangster is on the run again.
Criminal who is a big movie fan. He has broken out of prison twice
and
now.
You can just about make out the helicopter flying off into the distance.
Multiple armed men who hijacked a helicopter,
which picked up Redouane Fayed from within the prison grounds.
The news of Redouane Fayed's prison break spreads across the world.
Oh my God.
He was already famous, a TV figure, the center of a cult-like hype.
Bro, that's actually
But this is a whole new level. A well-known French
I never
actress
heard of
writes on
this
social
either.
media, "Bravo, Redouane Fayed. All of France is with you." The French police declare him the country's most wanted man.
Holy
3 months
shit.
later, the authorities track him down.
Oh no.
Hiding in an apartment in his
They
hometown
got
of
him
Caen.
again.
He's been disguising himself under a burqa during public outings. When he finally stands trial in 2020, authorities take extreme security measures, including a no-fly zone above the courthouse. The court cites a psychiatric assessment describing him as a social predator and gifted at manipulation. He uses his charm and intelligence to control others and get what he wants. Fayed himself says that for him, it was always about the adrenaline. He says he is addicted to it and calls himself a sick man. His Hollywood-style heists made headlines worldwide, but he also made his family suffer, traumatized hostages, and caused the death of a 26-year-old police officer. Fayed stood 2 separate trials. For his heists, his role in Aurélie Fouquet's death, and his 2 escapes from prison. He was sentenced to a total of 39 years in jail.
That's it?
His lawyer says he's been held in solitary confinement since 2019.
What the
He's strip searched up to 5 times a day at random intervals.
Holy shit.
At least 4 guards escort him to each and every one of his phone calls. And even then, his hands have to remain in shackles. Fayed himself says he feels like he's been buried alive. His earliest possible release date is 2060. He would be 88 years old by then.
Damn. Bro, it's actually... Bro, that's probably like the most insane prison break story I've ever heard of. Wow. That's insane.